I never really looked at fighting as like it's violent. It's a dangerous sport. I just kind of always looked at it as a sport. Like it's like I'm gonna, go out there and turn this dude's lights off in the most non-violent way. Put him asleep, end the fight. It's just like it's always been chess to me. It's always been a violent game of chess. It's never been like a aggressive fight. Like I want to hurt this guy because I don't like him. It's never really been like that to me. It's always more of like a sport. Who's gonna go out there and who's gonna win?
Welcome to In Search of Excellence, where we meet entrepreneurs, CEOs, entertainers, athletes, motivational speakers, and trailblazers of excellence with incredible stories from all walks of life. My name is Randall Kaplan. I am a serial entrepreneur, venture capitalist, and the host of In Search of Excellence, which I started to motivate and inspire us to achieve excellence in all areas of our lives. My guest today is Sean O'Malley, the UFC Bantamweight champion of the world with a 17-1 record, who everybody believes is the next Connor McGregor. Sugar Sean, welcome to In Search of Excellence. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm glad it worked out in Vegas.
In Vegas?
Yep.
So I always start my show with our family because I always want to know what kind of values your family instilled in you and what did they instill in you? What were your parents like growing up and what kind of influence did they have on you?
My dad was a cop. He was a detective for 20 years, worked as a narcotics officer, bounced around in that. And then my mom was a nurse. Most of my memories are just sports, like going to the practice, getting picked up from practice, going from baseball to soccer, practice in the same day. So most of my memories looking back are just like, we were competitive since I was 3, 4, 5 years old, playing all sorts of sports, hated school from early on, like elementary school. I knew I didn't like school. Middle school, hated it. High school, hated it. Just didn't like school for whatever reason. I don't really know. But yeah, I think I feel like I had a pretty normal childhood growing up. Grew up in Helena, Montana, like a mile from the lake. The only problem with that was you could only go to the lake for like 2 months out of the year because Montana is so cold. And then when it's really hot, there's always fires. So there's always very few times you could actually go out to the lake. But it was cool. I had a normal childhood, I'd say.
So your dad was a cop.
Mm-hmm.
Did he go out and do some narcotics work? Was he undercover? Did you ever worry about his safety?
Yeah, I remember being young, worrying about it more so than I got older. I mean, being a cop in Helena, Montana, there's be a lot worse places in the United States to be a cop. So I was like, well, it's not too bad. But yeah, there was definitely times where I was like, man, that's kind of a dangerous job. But yeah, it was interesting. I wasn't, didn't drink, didn't smoke till I was, older. And I was like terrified of marijuana because my dad and my mom would basically just say it's like the worst thing ever. So growing up, I was just very terrified of that. Didn't drink till I was 21. Which I think is a good thing. It got me from Helena, Montana when I moved. I was 19 years old and I moved to Phoenix. And I was, I'm glad I didn't partake in any of those until I was older. But yeah.
So you said when you were a kid, you played a lot of sports. What kind of sports did you play? And were you good? Did you know you were a good athlete? Good hand-eye coordination back then?
Yeah, I was fast. I was fast. Played soccer, baseball, football, and basketball. Those 4 all year round because depending on what season, if it's cold out, snowing, it was basketball season. But yeah, I played sports my whole life. So did both my brothers, my sister. We all just played sports. It was like traveling baseball, traveling basketball, school basketball. Those 4 sports all year round, nonstop.
You're a popular kid. I mean, you have a great personality.
No, not really. Definitely wasn't a popular kid. I didn't really fit in with the jocks or the sports guys. I didn't really fit in with the skateboard crew. I kind of had my own little clique or our own little group that kind of got along with everybody. We were kind of little, shitheads, but...
What's a shithead back then?
I don't know, kind of class clowny, try to make people laugh. Dude, I was never a bad kid, but yeah, I don't say... I was definitely not a popular kid, no.
Did you get in trouble as a kid at all? I mean, your parents scold you or ground you at all?
Yeah, at school we'd get in trouble, or I'd get in trouble a little bit. Maybe having a laser on the teacher, or farting in class.
Like a red laser?
Red laser. shit like that, you know. So I was never too bad, but I was definitely a troublemaker.
Did you ski? I mean, Helena's a cold city, cold state, Montana.
Yeah.
Some great skiing there, Big Sky.
Yeah, I snowboard skied a little bit when I was younger, 12, 13, 14, around maybe that age group, and then I stopped. Not a huge fan of the cold, so ever since I moved to Phoenix, I was like, I hadn't really gone back. Definitely not in the winter, but very little bit, but I definitely did.
So you said you have 3 siblings.
Mm-hmm.
You guys tight? Were you tight then? Tight now?
I'd say we were a little bit tighter when we were younger. And then you get into middle school, high school, we're all 4 years apart.
So 16 years, your parents had kids.
Yep. We're all boom, 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 4 years apart. So we were closer when we were younger. We were all doing our own thing, middle school, high school. You know, it's kind of separated. But now, you know, both my brothers, my sister, my mom all live in Arizona, which is really cool. So
Because you moved there?
Yeah, I moved there and I was there for probably about 7-8 years by myself, trying to get everyone to move down. My sister was still in high school. My mom and dad were still together. My little brother was going to school there. My older brother was just a complete wreck, like not doing good at all, on drugs, just not doing good. So it was just a mess back home. And I finally, you know, was in a position financially to be able to really help everyone out. So now everyone lives down in Phoenix and everyone's doing pretty good.
You still help them out financially? I mean, when someone gets rich and makes a ton of money, often a lot of people say, I'm going to support my family. Is your family in that position right now?
Yeah, I definitely don't want to enable them to where it's like, they just completely rely on me. But there's, you know, my mom works for me.
What does she do for you?
She's like, she runs my life. Like, as far as making sure all my taxes are, you know, done, sent in to the accountant, ran through, all my bills are paid. I have 6 houses, so she kind of helps me manage all that. She does she just works. Anything I need done, she's on top of that. My little sister helps out. I have a little farm. She helps out at the farm. I also bought like 4 houses from her. She's a realtor.
Right.
So that worked out nice. My little brother and I did a podcast for a while, but he's going back to school, chiropractic school, so he's been really busy doing his thing.
What age is he now?
He's 20. Ooh, that's crazy. 25. Yeah, 25. And then my older brother, he's doing way better. He's got a son. Him and his son live with my mom right now, and they're they're getting by doing their thing. But yeah, it's nice. Everyone's healthy and doing good.
I collect shoes, and you collect houses.
Yeah.
So what's with the 6 houses? Where are they, and why so many?
Yeah, they're all in Arizona. The first house I bought was just like, I always wanted to be smart with my money. My mom was very, very stingy when it comes to money. Like, she had 4 kids. She wanted to make sure we have everything we had. She wanted to make sure we had everything we needed. So I remember my parents always fighting about money. It was always about money. I don't know if that's why in my mind when I was younger, I was like, I want to be rich, because I've always wanted to be rich. But then when I started making money, I was like, okay, you know, you have that urge, you get a lot of money, you have an urge to like, I want to buy something nice. I want to buy something. And for me, I was like, okay, well, if I put the money into a house and then rent it out and the mortgage gets paid for, at least I spent that money. It felt good. I felt, you know, for whatever reason, it feels good to spend money like that. But it's also like that money's not just gone. It's somewhere good. So I just kind of like buying houses. I met a couple buddies, Blake, who's my assistant now that you just met. I actually met him about 3 years ago, playing Call of Duty. I used to stream. I used to play stream on Twitch like a lot every day. There's a certain group of people that would be in my chat all the time. Every time I go live, they're in my chat. Him, another buddy, Schmitty, a couple of my other buddies were always in there. And I bought a house, I rented it out to them, and moved them all down to Arizona.
So you meet these random guys online.
I met them online.
You're famous at this point, or coming up.
Yep.
And you got tons of people coming up to you, right? Too many.
Yep.
Don't know who to trust.
Yeah.
And so how are you meeting people on Twitch and trying to sort through the madness, right?
I feel like you know. It's just like I invited them. I didn't just invite them out to live here. I invited them out, had a little hangout session with bunch of my subscribers, and I like these kids. I like, okay,
in person.
These kids, yeah.
So you invite them to Arizona,
and like these kids, they got along with the group, and they're good people. I invited them. I said, I got have an extra house if you guys want to rent it out. 4 of them moved down. 4, they've lived there for about a year, and now he's my assistant. So he's one of my good buddies, and it's really cool. It's cool. I met a lot of cool people. I don't game anymore. I quit streaming recently, but
why?
Just I'm at the top of the game right now. I'm the champ. I got a target on my back. It's like those 2 hours I spend gaming, or 2 hours I can spend with Helena, who I have a 3-year-old princess, or just recovering. You train in the morning, recover. You got training in the afternoon. Streaming takes a lot of energy, especially as a high energy streamer. I was screaming. I was playing. I was engaging with the chat. It was just a lot of energy, and I just I needed to put that energy somewhere else.
Let's go back a little bit to school. Education, a lot of people think it's the best investment you can make in yourself. You felt like you were not learning anything and it was a waste of time. Were your parents telling you, hey, Sean, you should stay in school, you should do better? Or you just said, fuck this, I'm done?
Yeah, I remember being like third grade, being like, I'm over this shit. But
third grade?
Yeah, I feel like I remember young being like,
you're 10 years old.
Probably, something like that. I was like, I realized you got to go to middle school, you have to go to high school, but you don't have to go to college. I knew I wasn't going to college. Like,
right.
I'm not paying to go to school. No way. For me, it was, I didn't really enjoy reading or learning because all the stuff I was reading or learning was just something I was just not interested in it at all. When I moved to Arizona, I was 19. Like, me and Tim kind of started reading books on sports psychology and just how to train smarter, how to use your mind and put yourself in the present moment and have intentions going into training sessions, and like that stuff was fascinating to me. So I'd read. I'd be like, oh, maybe I don't hate reading. I just hate reading shit I don't care about.
Right.
Like that's what I got out of that. I didn't like I just didn't like school because I was like, it just doesn't make sense. You go to school for 8 hours, you have an hour each class, you have homework on each class, you have a test on each class. How you guys, some people are very, very smart and can just do that. But for me, I'm like, I can't do 8 classes in a day and not remember each different thing and then have a test on all of them and then do homework on everything. I stopped doing homework in like 6th grade. I'm like, yeah, I can't do this. But so I just never understood the setup of school. I just don't get it. Still don't understand. I'm like, I don't get why. I feel like there's got to be a better way to, educate people.
I mean, you're a role model, right? I mean, there's the tens of millions of people. They look up to you. And a lot of people are sitting out there listening today as well and say, hey, man, Sean, Suga doesn't like school. Maybe I really don't like school. What's your advice to the people out there who view you as their champion and you're an example of people who don't go to school? And do you want your 3-year-old daughter to be a good student and go to college?
I feel like I just got lucky. I found a passion. I think that's just that's if I didn't have a passion, I wouldn't be able to say it depends what you're passionate about. If you find something you're passionate about that involves like having to go to school to learn and get a degree or whatever to get you to that next level, then yeah, 100%. For me, I was kickboxing. I was knocking people out. I'm like, I don't need to go to school for this. I need to go to the gym. I need to train. I need to hit mitts. I need to learn how to spar. I need to, I should be learning about how to eat healthy. I should be learning about how to meditate. I should be learning about how to control my emotions. I should be learning about all this other stuff that actually is going to benefit me for what I want to do. So as far as Helena going to school, I don't know. I mean, she's 3 right now. She's gonna, I think learning the ABCs, learning how to count, learning all the basic stuff is very important, obviously. But at a certain level, it's like, it depends what she's passionate about. Maybe she doesn't have a passion until she's way older. Like some people don't really know what they're passionate about. That's tricky. I don't have advice for that because I don't know. I mean, I was lucky enough to find something I'm passionate about.
So you're on vacation with your family in Utah. You get a call from somebody, and that was sort of the start of it. So what was that? What was that call like? And you're sitting there. I mean, where were you in Utah? And what are you thinking? Hey,
That's
man,
funny.
this is.
That's funny you bring that up because I actually forgot. I do remember that now that you said that, but I forgot about like that was actually the initial call. My buddy Mitch Foley, it was in the summer. We were at a campground. And he called, he's like, yo, you want to check out this fighting gym? And I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. I think I was 15, 16 years old at the time, going into freshman year, sophomore year, whatever that age group is. Like, yeah, that sounds sweet. I was kind of over, I still like sports. I still like competing, but I was over the team sports. You didn't really get good grades. You have to get good grades to play sports. Didn't really get along with the jocks. Didn't really get along with the coaches. Was always rebellious. Hated taking orders. Like boxing, the one-on-one, you win because you win, you lose because you lose. It's like it's your fault either way, and I wanted to experience that. So, yeah, went and checked out a fighting gym in Montana where, it's not the most knowledgeable place, but it built me as a fighter for sure, because I was able to fight so often. And but yeah, that was it. We went back to Montana, went and checked out the gym, just loved it.
This episode of In Search of Excellence is brought to you by Sandee.com, SANDEE.com. We're a Yelp for beaches and have created the world's most comprehensive beach resource by cataloging more than 100 categories of information for every beach in the world, more than 100,000 beaches in 212 countries. Sandee.com provides beachgoers around the world with detailed, comprehensive, and easy-to-use information to help them plan their perfect beach getaway at home and abroad, and to make sure you're never disappointed by a beach visit again. Plan the perfect beach trip today by visiting Sandee.com. That's www.sandee.com. The link is in our show notes. Stay sandy, my friends. So you get in the gym for the first time, and you're looking around. There's weights there, there's bags, and you don't know what to do, right? Just like what did you do? You started pumping weights? Was there someone in there showing you what to do? Yeah. Did you have a mentor in there, a trainer?
It wasn't really weight. It was more of just like a fighting gym. There wasn't really like a bench press, and it wasn't really. There's bags hanging. I think the first session I ever did was actually jiu-jitsu, which I ended up stopping for like 3 years because I didn't like it. But that was like my first time training, was like doing jiu-jitsu. And then shortly after that, we just kickbox. We'd spar. So basically, most of our sessions were sparring and hitting mitts, and that's what I like to do. I was like, okay, I'm pretty good at this. I was athletic. I was hard to hit, and I was able to hit people, because I feel like I'm naturally gifted when it comes to speed. I'm very fast, and I think that's the number one attribute in fighting is speed. So I naturally was pretty good at it, and just kind of got addicted to it. I thought chicks would like it. That was a big thing too. I was like, well, you want to get chicks? You're 16. You're insecure. Fighting sounds kind of cool. So that was definitely a big part of why I wanted to fight.
You went back to get your GED degree. You're in a special school. You get in a fight. You get kicked out. What happened there?
Yeah, it's hard to even remember how it all went, because I went to so many different high schools for a little while there. I went to Capital, and then I went to...
This is back in Montana.
Yep. I went to Capital I went to Capital High in Helena. Then I went to and lived with my aunt and uncle in Hamilton. Went there for a little bit. Ended up kind of fucking around over there. My aunt and uncle were like, we can't handle him. He's sneaking out, hanging out with chicks and doing all this stuff, which was true. But I was like, so they're like, just get me out of there. So I moved back to Helena, decided to drop out, go to this boot camp, Montana Youth Challenge, go there for a few weeks, maybe a month or so. I think it was like a 6-month program. Would end up sneaking out of that with a couple buddies, doing our own thing. Eventually got kicked out of that. Went back home, went and tried to do my GED. I'm like, I just don't really care for that. Then ended up going to this school called PAL, Project of Alternative Learning. So it was just like a alternative high school, to where it was just for people like me. It was like people that didn't like school, still needed to get a diploma or whatever. So I ended up going to there, and then graduated, and yeah, so bounced around quite a bit.
You just mentioned you were an insecure kid. I think so many people who are very successful, including me, was very insecure. I didn't have a lot of friends, stuttered, was bullied, and was really in my own world for a very long time. Mm-hmm. So at what point did you kind of come out of that? I mean, sometimes as a boy or a young man, I think one of the things is, are you too uncool to have a date with a girl? And that was certainly my take for a very long time. So did you get the girls when you started fighting and winning, or what was the first success you had there? And you're like, all right, my kickboxing is working.
Yeah, I think obviously every kid in high school is insecure. I don't think you're gonna find a kid that's not insecure in high school, whether you have acne or you don't know if your shirt's nice enough or you're wearing the right jeans, or for me, it was a little bit of acne. Looking back, I don't even think it was that bad, but I remember just being like, yeah, your hormones are crazy. You're at 15, 16 years old. But yeah, so I think, kickboxing, won a couple fights. It definitely gained some confidence. Talking to chicks was, a little bit easier for whatever reason. Maybe just that little bit of confidence you get from knocking someone out. A lot of people don't know that feeling, but it's a good feeling. Yeah, I'd say it definitely worked.
So kickboxing, I think a lot of people don't know what that is. So are you in a square boxing ring, and is there a league? I mean, you're in Montana. Who are you fighting?
Yeah, so they would have kickbox. They would just have like a whole fight event. So some people would be boxing, some people would be kickboxing. You had to be 18 to do an MMA fight. So I was 16, 17 years old, so I only could kickbox. So it's just in a ring, headgear, sometimes headgear, sometimes not, but shin guards, boxing gloves, and we would just kickbox. I think there were 3-minute rounds, 2-minute rounds. Just go. I remember, you'd fight one weekend, take a weekend off, fight again in another city, and just kind of travel around Montana fighting. And but yeah, so I did that. I think I did 4 boxing fights and 4 kickboxing fights from 16 to 18. Then once I turned 18, I did MMA.
Won them all, 8-0?
Yeah, boxing, kickboxing, won all those as an amateur, and then I did MMA. I was 12-2 as an amateur MMA fighter. And then I turned pro.
As a kickboxer, were you just wiping people off the map early on, or did it take a while to kind of understand what you were doing?
No, I was just I was 16 years old fighting other 16, 17, 18-year-olds. Yeah, I was knocking them out.
So you said that when you dropped out of school, you weren't learning, but you've also learned a lot when you started kickboxing. The lessons you learned there were a lot more important life lessons than you would learn in school. What were the lessons, and how have they applied to the rest of your life?
I think I just learned I wanted to be like the best. It was more so once I got into MMA and wanted to be the best. When I decided when I was 18 that I want to be considered one of the greatest fighters of all time, what does that mean? What do I have to do? And I was like, okay, now I have to learn how to eat good so I don't get injured. I have to learn about my sleep schedule, learn about my mind, being able to show up in that moment every single time. That's what I feel like I do better than everyone. I show up that night. March 9th in Miami, I'm going to show up. I know how to show up. I know how to, for 12 weeks, how to create that headspace of where I need to be to show up that night. So I feel like I've learned a lot about, and I learned more so that's not just about fighting, that's just in life in general. Sleeping good, eating good, and taking care of your mind and body. It's like I learned that because I wanted to be the greatest fighter. But I just need that for just everyday life in general. So yeah, that's what I learned most.
I think so many of us have dreams as a kid. I always knew I wanted to have my own company, grow a company. I sold t-shirts in college, and that was my thing. I remember sophomore year in high school, econ class, we did a tour of Federal Mogul, which is a Fortune 500 company in Southfield, Michigan. And we did the tour, probably 40 of us in there. And we're in the CEO's place, and he's a huge desk, and the woman who's doing the tour, he's not there. So huge office. I said, gosh, this is cool. And I said, can I sit behind his desk? She's looking at me, what? And she thought, okay, why not? And I remember feeling how good that felt. And I said, one day, and I knew even then what I want to do. I want to go in business. I thought I had a knack for it. We all have dreams, right, as kids. So how old were you when you actually had the dream that you want to be number one champion of the world? And what's your advice to all the people out there who have the same dream and say to themselves, man, that's fucking hard to do. Less than 1% of 1% will be successful. But what's the mentality there? What's the advice you have for all those people?
I wanted to be rich and famous before I wanted to be champ. Before I wanted to be the best fighter in the world. I wanted to be rich and famous when I was real young. So I didn't really know how I was going to get there. But I remember, 16, 17 years old, I started selling t-shirts. You'd have a fight coming up. You'd make a shirt. You'd sell it. I would get paid ticket sales too. I'd get $5 a ticket. So I was hustling 16, 17 years old, 18 years old as an amateur, trying to, make as much money each fight as I could.
You're fighting, and before the fight, you're making your own t-shirts and going around to the audience? Or were you doing it after?
Yeah, so if I had a fight coming up and, a month, I would, make t-shirts, and my dad would help me and sell them to our friends and, local people in Helena would 20, 30 shirts at a time or whatever it was, nothing crazy. But I remember I wanted to be rich, but I didn't know how I was going to be rich. And then once I started fighting, I'm like, okay, maybe this could be it, because I don't really know what else it's going to be. But that's 16, 17 years old selling t-shirts and merch and stuff. Now I have my own sugar shop, and it does really well. And I feel like some people just have it. Some people want it, some people don't. And I think if you want it and you have it, you'll figure out how to get there. It's like you just got to put in the work. You don't need you can't have someone. You can't need someone to tell you to do the work. Like I never needed a coach to say, "Hey, bro, we gotta go train. You gotta go to the gym." I never needed that. I was in the gym. I was training, and I didn't really need someone saying, "Hey, make sure you try to learn how to eat healthy." Like me and Tim, my buddy Tim, we lived together. We kind of started learning all that together. But I didn't need someone to like want me to improve. I wanted to improve, and I feel like if you have that, like you have a good shot of being successful, whatever you do.
I also sold T-shirts. In college, freshman year, I saw some other people doing it. I said, oh, that's interesting. So back then, you couldn't go online. I mean, I'm 55 years old, so there's no Google to look. So you're in the phone book, Yellow Pages. Hey, I want to make these T-shirts.
Oh, wow.
So I bought them for $6. And, you're taking a risk because you don't know if the shirts are coming in good or bad. And short sleeves were $1 more. I sold the short sleeves for $12, the long sleeves for $18, so better margin on those.
Yeah.
I went door to door in every dorm. I get kicked out of every floor. I go back in the back end. I literally hit every single dorm.
What shirts were you selling?
Okay. So I was selling Just Do It shirts, Nike. Didn't really ask permission, obviously. And I thought I created better Just Do It shirts. I mean, today you could never get away with it.
Right,
This was 1986 through 1990. And the experience of cold calling and getting doors shut in your face and getting kicked out was very, very good for me. And I think one of the greatest skills you can have to be successful is cold calling people. So have you ever gone door to door and learned the cold calling skill and the fear and getting over fear of rejection? I mean, it could be selling stuff. It could be going up to a bunch of girls and saying, "Hey, will you go out with me?" And
that's hard.
No way.
Hard. I did one time. I had like a sponsorship write out to where like, pay me $800 and you'll have this on your logo, this on this and this. And I had to go to a couple different sponsors, and that was hard for me. That was like, I just felt super, super uncomfortable. I only did that a few times. But yeah, that was very uncomfortable.
So you're young, you want to be famous. Why the fame? I mean, the famous people that I know can't leave their house, can't go to the grocery store, have trouble finding people who are true friends.
Yeah.
What was it about fame that was interesting to you, and is it all that's cracked up to be?
It's a good question. I don't know. I've never really been able to sit down and figure out why. I just have pretty vivid memories being young, wanting. I don't know if it came from. I used to be obsessed with football, and I used to watch football every Sunday, Monday, whatever, NFL Total Access during the week. Like I watched, and just like the football players were famous to me, and I wanted to be in the NFL so bad. I don't know if that's kind of where it stemmed from. I don't know if it's just that deep insecurity of wanting to be liked. I don't know where it came from, but it was from when I was young. Yeah, I don't mind. It's what's cool is seeing walk into a store and this happened to, I'm trying to think of where. Oh, it was at the hotel. The room service lady. I was walking by and her eyes got huge. She started freaking out, screaming that I was walking by.
Screaming.
Like screaming. Like it was funny.
Right in front of your face.
Yeah. And it was just like, that's pretty cool to be able to give someone that experience. And again, I don't know why that's cool, but it feels good. And take a picture with her. So that's pretty cool, I guess, in a sense of being famous and making people feel good. But yeah, sometimes it's a pain in the ass. You want to go to the Sprouts and you don't want to, you're like, God, it's like, I want to go to the grocery store and not have to think about, being a little paranoid because sometimes people you watch it, you can see people's phones, see people like, but if that's the worst part of my day is having to go to Sprouts and take up pictures, like the day's pretty good. So it's not too bad.
Can you lead a normal life now where you're just going out and taking a stroll or going to the mall or doing things? Are there things you're not doing?
Well, it's just normal now. Like that is a normal going out and like expecting it to be people there. Like that's just normal now. It was a gradual build from get signed to UFC, knock a couple people out. Maybe it's one person when I go out. Now it's two people. Now it's like a couple people. So it's just now it's normal. So it's almost more weird if I go somewhere and no one says anything.
UFC is now, I believe, the 4th most popular sport in the world. Has your recognition? What's that?
It's the number one.
Is number one sport? Well, I think. Well,
statistically, is it number 4?
Yeah, I think statistically. I interviewed Dana White at a conference, and I believe it's the number 4 sport in the world. I mean, that's huge. Have you seen your recognition go up as the sport has increased over the last few years?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, each knockout goes up more and more and more. So, but yeah, definitely noticed that.
Are you looking for your next great gift to surprise a friend, colleague, or loved one? Bliss Beaches makes the perfect gift. This best-selling bright and beautiful coffee table book by Randall Kaplan features stunning drone photography from exotic beach locations around the world. It's the perfect housewarming gift, a great addition to any home or office, and a fun and creative alternative to bringing a bottle of wine to somebody's house for dinner. Bliss Beaches is available for purchase on Amazon, where it has glowing reviews and a 5-star rating. Get your next amazing gift and order a copy of Bliss Beaches by clicking the link in our show notes. So why fight in the first place? I mean, what was the first punch that you threw where it actually felt good? Go back to the first street fight you had. I mean, you punched...
Wasn't a street fighter.
Well, I'm talking about when you hit someone in high school and got kicked out. Was that your first fight?
I never fought outside of the gym. I've never really gotten street fights.
So the first fight you had was in a gym.
Yeah.
And what was it? What was the first punch feel like?
I never really looked at fighting as it's violent. It's a dangerous sport. I just kind of always looked at it as a sport. Like, it's like, I'm going to, go out there and turn this dude's lights off in the most non-violent way. Put him asleep, end the fight. It's just like, it's always been chess to me. It's always been a violent game of chess. It's never been like a aggressive fight. Like, I want to hurt this guy because I don't like him. It's never really been like that to me. It's always more of like the sport. Who's going to go out there and who's going to win? And that's what it's always been to me.
So I think a lot of people don't know how you go from your first fight to where you are today and how many it takes to get there. So can you walk people through the very beginning and who has to be in your corner and say, okay, Sugar's going to get the next fight. He's going to get a big fight. And he's moving up on the card up until the main event.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've done a good job at managing my career in that aspect, from getting signed to UFC and kind of navigating that and dealing with Hunter and Dana directly.
What year was that? So take us back to the beginning, because I think there's a lot of people who don't know, and I think there's a bunch of people who are not UFC fans right now who are listening and watching the show. So
I'd say I turned pro probably 20 years old, something like that. Rack up 5 or 6 wins. Fighting in Montana. I'd fight, go back to Montana, fight pro fights. They weren't the hardest pro fights. It was just like I was kind of getting a good record. I think I was 5-0, 6-0. Knock out this dude in North Dakota. Then I get this big fight, an LFA fight, which is a bigger organization. It's a good feeder into the UFC. I believe I was 6-0 at the time. And Dana White's Contender series was the new thing, and it was about to air next year or in a couple months or whatever. And I knew if I could go out there and put on a show, I fought this guy named David Nuzzo. Like, if I could go out there and knock this dude out, I pretty much guarantee I can get on. So I'm like 6-0, 6 finishes, whatever my record was. I had a good record. Go out there and knock this dude out, and just one of my favorite knockouts still. I throw a head kick into a spinning kick, knock him out. It goes viral-ish. Like,
it's on YouTube.
Yeah, it was my first viral knockout. So then they offer me a fight on the Contender series. Snoop Dogg's commentating. Yeah. And that was a big deal, having Snoop Dogg commentate. Him going, "Oh, Mally," just like 30 times in a row.
He went crazy.
He was posting me on his Instagram, which blew up my Instagram, which made me I was kind of get addicted to like the likes and stuff. I was like, oh shit, I can get a good following from this. And so that's how that happened. Got signed to UFC, knocked out that dude. Went and hung out with Snoop, smoked with Snoop. Hung out with Snoop for a little bit.
Big like a
just
cigar joint.
Just passing around blunts, and I was cross-eyed about 5 minutes in, walking out of there like feeling like I'm in a movie. Just knocked this dude out. Just got signed to the UFC. Just smoked with Snoop. 21, 22 years old. And so yeah, I think that was in like a June or July, and then I booked my first fight December 1st in Vegas. The Contender series was my first fight in Vegas. Then my next fight was December 1st, which was my first UFC fight in Vegas. Win that one. Didn't win it by knockout or anything. Won a decision. It was still a very entertaining fight. One of my favorite fights of myself to go back and watch because it was so entertaining, and there's a lot of flashy things that happened. Won that. Booked my next fight, and in Vegas again. This one's on a pay-per-view now. I fought a kid named Andre Soccer. No, I called him Andre Soccer Mom. Now I always forget his very real name. But I fought this kid, Andre, broke my foot in the 3rd round with 3 minutes left, tore the Liz Franck. It's the ligaments on top of my foot. And there's 3 minutes left, and it was clearly hurt, clearly like couldn't walk on or couldn't even stand on it. He took me down, thankfully. I don't know why. He's still
one hop now.
I'm hopping, punching him in the face, still piecing him up. He took me down, and thankfully he did because I couldn't use that foot. But yeah, that was kind of, and then after that fight, I feel like I gained quite a bit of popularity because of the whole. Rogan was interviewing me on the ground, laying there. The fight was entertaining, broke my foot. But yeah, that's kind of got the ball rolling.
So you're hanging out with Snoop, you're smoking, you wake up the next day, and are you saying to yourself, man, I am living my dream. This is so fucking cool. What's next?
I think at that time, I was still living in an apartment and
where?
In Glendale, in Arizona. And
what were you paying him rent? Do you remember?
Like $800.
And what'd you get? What'd you get for the fight? How much were you paid?
$10,000, I think, for that one. Or no, was it $5,000? I think it's $5,000, $5,000 or $10,000. I don't remember. But I remember after my first fight, I think it was like 10 and 10. You get $20,000. You pay the gym, pay whatever. It ends up not being a ton, but with that money, I'm like, well, let's put a down payment on a house and like move into like a nice little shitty house. And that was my first house I bought. But it was, that was a cool experience because you're not really making money fighting until even once you get in the UFC, like the first couple fights, you're not making a lot of money, especially with taxes. Hate taxes. I've had to pay a lot this year. It was sad. Very depressing.
Makes our world go on. We live in the greatest country on earth,
yes.
So we pay for our freedom.
Yes, I agree, and that's always a good perspective, a good reminder. I still live on a shitty dirt road though, so that sucks. But
yeah, but that's your choice. I'm sure you could buy whatever house you want at this point.
But yeah, it was cool to make money for the first, like actually make money fighting. It still blows my mind, to be honest.
So does Dana White control the destiny, your destiny, and the destiny of your fighters? Who's picking the fights, and how are they doing it? Is Dana saying, man, Sean is going to be a superstar, so I want to make sure he keeps advancing his career, and then when someone loses, they're going down on the pole a little bit and not getting the best fights?
Yeah, I mean, that would be more of a question for Dana and Sean Shelby and Hunter. Those guys kind of navigate how the UFC runs. I accept fights, and
Dana loves you, by the way. I spent some time with him last night, and he says, man, you're the next big thing.
Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong. I think UFC's, they're a business. They're a fight business, but ultimately they're a business. They want to make money, and they know how, Dana saw it when he saw me fight Alfred. He said, I have that thing, and that it thing, and here we are. That was 2017. So, I'm the champ now. So whatever they did, it worked. I'm here. I won the fights that I needed to win, and I do believe I'm the next big thing.
He believes it too. I interviewed Dana. He was telling me the story of Connor McGregor, and Connor met the Fertitta brothers first, and they said, "Hey Dana, man, you got to talk to this guy." Or I think it was the other way around. I'm not sure. And the guy was very flamboyant. Said he's going to be the champ. Definitely wasn't the champ back then.
Right.
But how much has your being flamboyant, the purple hair, the tats everywhere, how much has that contributed to your success?
Probably a little bit. I think what it comes down to is if you go out and just watch my highlights from when I got in the UFC, even before, like, I'm fun to watch. I'm entertaining. I'm knocking people out in spectacular fashion. It doesn't matter what color my hair is or my, what kind of car I drive, face tattoos. Like, none of that matters if I'm not knocking people out. And people look past that. People look like, oh, you're popular, you're famous, you're the champ because you have crazy hair. UFC wants you to be champ. Like, no, I just knocked out Aljamain Sterling, the greatest bantamweight of all time. I fought Peter Yan, beat Peter Yan in the fight before that. Like, that's why I'm the champ. But as far as like taking it to the next level, I think that the hair and the all that extra stuff definitely plays a role. People want to see characters. People want to see that or obviously all human, but people want to see characters, and that's what I think that I've done a good job doing.
Conor McGregor, the most famous UFC fighter ever, and people are saying you're the next Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
How's that feel?
It's funny. It's like people say that in like a negative way. Most people, like
I'm saying it in a very positive way because I think it's fucking cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I do get that a lot. You're a wannabe Connor. Like, yeah, fine. Like, how much did he make? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think he made 30. He made $30 million for his fight with Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
Floyd made, I think, $80 to $100 million.
Yeah. So in that sense, yeah, I kind of want to be like Connor. I also want to. It's hard when you get that famous, that much money. It's like to stay that active. I'd like to stay active. I'd like to continue to fight a lot. But as far as like people asking me if I think I'm the biggest star in the UFC right now, and I don't really know how to answer that. I think UFC would know analytically, like the real numbers. Who's the biggest star? I don't know. I would say I'm definitely up there. But when it comes to potential, who has the potential to be the biggest star ever? I'm definitely the number one guy. I believe I could be way bigger than Connor, and just because Connor hasn't fought in so long, he like pre-COVID, 2020, whatever it was, the UFC grew almost 50%. They almost, I think Dana said it was like 48% in a couple of years. The UFC grew because of COVID. Like that's my prime. That's where I'm knocking people out. That's where I'm on the rise right now. I'm the champ right now. So I have so much more people to be seen by. So, and that's the only reason I say that I could be way bigger than Connor's, because there's just more people watching the sport right now.
You feel the pressure that people are putting on you?
Not really. I don't really feel that pressure, to be honest. I don't really put that much pressure on myself. It's just kind of like if this was all gone tomorrow, do I have the skills to be happy? Like, I believe I do. I think, it'd be a different pace of life, different change of life. This all went away tomorrow. Didn't fight anymore. I retired. No one gives a fuck about me anymore because I don't fight, which is a real thing. Like, you quit fighting once you're done. It's like these people start to lose interest in you. You're not getting the brand deal. You're not the next big thing. Do I still know how to be happy? And I think happiness is a skill. And I feel like I could definitely, figure that out and be okay. So I don't really put that much pressure on myself. Like, oh, this is the only way. Like, I can make it.
Let's talk about your nickname. Where did it come from? And do people walk up to you on the street and call you Sean, Sugar? What's the...
A lot of people not as much anymore, but when I first started coming up, it was always Sugar Shane. Snoop still calls me Sugar Shane. Sugar Shane Mosley. It's like people, Sugar Shane just kind of rolls. But yeah, Sugar came from Johnny Aho, who was like one of my first coaches in Montana. And he said I was just so sweet to watch. So he gave me the nickname Sugar. I kind of took the R off and went more with Sugar. But yeah, Sugar was kind of like the first one. He said, because I was so sweet to watch.
One of the things that's made me successful over the years is something called extreme preparation. It's something I've been teaching and coaching for 20 years. So when someone preps for something for 1 hour, I'm 30, 40, 50. I know extreme preparation has been a huge part of your success. Yeah. Can you explain exactly what that means to you and how preparation is so important to being the champ?
Yeah, for me, it's like I wouldn't take a short notice fight. Like I don't know how like a specific date or weeks, but I like to have 12 weeks. 12 weeks is today, which is ironically like 12 weeks from fight is today.
And what's your next fight to tell people out there?
March 9th, Miami. Yeah, preparation
against
Cheeto. Yep, rematch. That's gonna be a big one, but preparation for me is, I break it down in little blocks, 4-week blocks from, 12 to 8, 8 to 4, 4 to fight. Like I have, I gradually pick up the pace, the discipline. Because I can't be too extremely disciplined this far out.
Right.
And I'm talking dialed in, 0 distractions, too far out. It's a balancing game. You got to balance it. So I feel like I've done a very good job balancing that and really figuring out what to do in those 12 weeks. So yeah, I like to have a good amount of time to get my mind right, to get physically in shape. Fighting's the most exhausting sport in the world. I'm the champ now, so I'm doing 5-minute rounds. I'm not doing 3 minute or 3 5s. I'm doing 5 5s. And I got to train like the fight's going to go 5 5s. This very well could go 25 minutes with Cheeto. He's very, very, very durable, very tough, very slow, very ugly, but he's good. So, I got to be prepared to go 25 minutes.